Welcome to the Inner Space Covent Garden talk. And our talk today is Confusion to Clarity. How often have you found yourself in the middle of a muddle? You've got yourself tangled up in a web of thoughts. And when you're in the midst of this confusion, are you able to see the bigger picture? Or do you find your mind kind of being pulled in all directions because there's just so much going on, and you don't allow your mind to settle? It's not direct, it's not focused. When we get confused, we make things far more complicated and confusing. So what to do if we want to go from confusion to clarity? So we've asked our speaker to explore with us very simple approaches that takes the complexity out of life to be able to beat confusion and also find clarity. Our speaker is Ruth Liddle. Ruth is part of the coordinating team of the Inner Space in Manchester. She has more than 20 years experience teaching in schools and universities in the UK and in Asia. Ruth is going to be sharing with us for the next 35-40 minutes, and then she's going to do a short guided meditation. And the idea of the guided meditation, and it's really short, just 3 minutes, is that what you've heard, you allow that to go from your head into your heart, so that it becomes a tool that you can start practicing using, if not immediately, then tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon, whenever you need it. After that, Ruth will answer any questions you have. So please send in your questions via the question and answer link or via the chat, and I will take those questions and put them to Ruth on your behalf. Ruth, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Artie. And this is a wonderful topic because I often struggle with confusion and have done over the course of my life. What I'd like to do, first of all, is really have a look at very briefly what confusion is and how it can arise, because I think this helps us deal with it when we see or hear how confusion works or can work for a person, and we see that actually it's okay to be confused and not surprising. So a definition, one I quite liked, is cognitive overload and tangled thoughts. And that sort of goes with the image that was chosen for this talk. The person using binoculars and standing in a tangle. So cognitive overload and tangled thoughts. So where does the cognitive overload and tangled thoughts come from? Information overload, and this is very real these days. If we go back 10 years, 20 years, the amount of information in the world, the amount of choices, so an increase, a massive increase in the amount of data we have to process, or the content going into our consciousness. So another cause is stress and lack of focus. So overload, overthinking, stress, lack of focus probably are the big three. But to break that down, and I really looked at my experience, and I've lived overseas, and so because I've lived in cultures where I didn't speak the language fluently, or people spoke multiple languages, then one of the big causes of confusion was unclear communication. Now, it doesn't have to be, because I don't speak a different language. Sometimes within our own language, there can be unclear communications. Take the example of a teenager now communicating with a grandparent or great-grandparent, completely different vocabulary. And it can sound like a foreign language. So just breaking down the unclear communication bit, and then looking at another area, which is new or surprising situations, but unclear communication. I've made a few notes to keep me in time for the talk. So language barriers, yeah. So when people speak different languages, whether it's the same language but different generations, or you're a tourist in a foreign country and you know a little. So yeah, it can cause a lot of confusion. But perhaps if I'm a tourist in a foreign country, that confusion doesn't bother me that much. It's expected. Then another one, ambiguous instructions. Yeah, so somebody doesn't communicate clearly enough for me to understand. So if the instructions or guidelines aren't clear, there can be confusion. If a teacher says, okay, your homework's to write an essay on this particular topic, I want it in tomorrow. But if the teacher doesn't say what time tomorrow, doesn't say how many words, then the students will be in a like, what? State of confusion, because they're unsure about what exactly is expected. So expectations, that word's coming up. Yeah? I might expect to be confused in a country where I don't know the language. Students not knowing what's expected when a teacher gives an assignment. Lack of context, so where not enough information is given to allow someone to understand fully. So if someone sends, for example, a text message and says, it's finished, it's ready, and you're thinking, what's ready? What's finished? The person who's communicating knows what they're talking about, but the person at the receiving end is thinking it could be one of three things. So confusion. Then miscommunication, especially when if you're asking someone to pass on a message or pass on a direction on your behalf. So it could be two team members discussing a project, one thinking the other one knows what they mean, and the other one not know what they mean. And so there'll be some confusion, and you can miss deadlines, you can end up causing a problem because you just didn't understand. It wasn't for any other reason. There's some miscommunication. And then the one that's always gets me, complex information or abstract concepts. So in the world of IT and technology, two of my service companions are IT professionals, and they have a language and an understanding that is always way above my head. And what they think is very simple and clear often is not. So, or you can go to the doctor, and if the doctor talks in medical jargon, then again, I can be very confused, and it can be very unsettling, very stressful, and it can trigger anxiety and fear. And that's the problem with confusion. No harm, no problem being confused. It's how that confusion makes me feel and how it impacts what I think and do and say. That's the problem. So the other thing, and I discovered this one in some of the countries I lived in Asia, it's too much information. Too much information is given to give one simple point. So with a Western way of listening and taking in information, I'm used to someone saying, okay, I want to tell you about this. And then they tell me. I tune in, I focus on this, and then I take in that information. But in some cultures, it's not considered good manners to go straight in. It's a blunt sort of approach. So very gentle, like, oh, lovely weather. How's the weather with you? It's very nice. And circling, and then eventually coming to the point of the conversation. And so if someone is like me, who's sort of getting absorbed in everything the person's saying, I can miss the point because of too much information. And I'll never forget when I was in immigration, I was actually doing a courier flight from Korea to New York. And these were the days before terrorism was a big issue and things were much easier. And you could carry a package for courier like DHL or something like that. You didn't take baggage, just your handbag, and then your luggage allowance would be given to the courier company. And I was all very nervous about this. And I was really speaking too much instead of just being cool and calm. And so I said to the customs official, I said, do you have any information? Sorry, do you have any guidance? You know, I feel really uncomfortable about this. And he said, only answer the questions you're asked. And I thought, yeah. So again, this idea of giving too much information is not helpful for understanding and communicating. Then the other thing, new situations, and I'm sure everyone can resonate with that, unexpected changes or unfamiliar technology dropped in, a Zoom update and things change and it's like, where's this? And so, yeah, these things can lead to confusion. But with the unexpected changes, the unfamiliar technology, the sudden surprise situations, somehow we forgive ourselves for being confused. We have a good reason or a good excuse. But when it's something about communication, perhaps we might feel it's my responsibility, I did something wrong, or I should be clearer. So we might put a little bit of stress or pressure on ourselves. I'm speaking from my experience for myself and for other people, so that you might be in a situation where people apologize for being confused. It might not even be their fault. They're apologizing because they expect themselves to be able to understand, to be able to do it. So again, this idea of expectations. So that's something we have to tackle, our expectations of ourselves. Yeah, as mentioned, the amount of available information in the world has multiplied so many times. It's not possible to keep track of everything. So perhaps what the answer is to be a little more understanding of ourselves and others. That things happen, things change, we adjust to the best of our ability, but not to let confusion trigger a whole host of other big emotions that can be linked to feelings of failure or inadequacy, anxiety, and fear. In a work situation, it can lead to a feeling that you're not as good as your colleagues, you're not up to the job. There's all sorts of rubbishy thoughts that can come when we're confused. So it is important to move from confusion to clarity and to beat this feeling or overcome this feeling. Because, yeah, there's a psychological effect. There's a physical effect because it's stressful. And all the physical effects we associate with stress, fatigue, tension, reduced productivity if we're in the workplace. And there seem to be, whether there are or not, there seem to be more and more problems. Just this morning, I was just glancing through the news, and I always look at CNN because they cover Korea a little more fully, with it being an American network. And I lived in Korea, so I'm always interested to see what they share. And the article that caught my eye today was that they've discovered 6 different types of depression. 6. So, I mean, we can suffer from depression, but now they're breaking it down into 6 different types. So perhaps back in my grandmother's day, when her husband was diagnosed with depression, life seemed much simpler. He's depressed. But now, what kind of depression? And if I'm trying to help myself, I'm opening myself up for confusion about, okay, what's wrong with me? What do I need to do? So again, that overload can come in. And there's a ripple effect. I think that's the big thing. My confusion, if it stays with me, I manage it. But if my confusion becomes the bigger thing, and there are psychological and physical impacts, then it's going to impact on those who I'm in close contact with, particularly. So affecting my relationships at home and at work or wherever, and activity with the community or groups if I withdraw because I'm depressed. So what are we going to do? There's so much information about confusion and its impacts online, but what are we going to do? And especially as people who are interested in personal development and have taken up the challenge of helping myself manage things better. So let's have a look at some techniques. And I think it's probably a good idea to start with lifestyle, because we do have to look after our physical bodies. And there are certain vitamins and minerals that help with mental clarity. So would help with my confusion. I found a study where they found that omega-3 oil helps. And lots of people are taking omega-3, 6, 9 in all different forms. But yeah, that definitely does help. So my diet, sleep. Probably you can recognize that if you are sleep deprived, the thinking doesn't work as efficiently, effectively. It's harder to focus and stay focused. So we need to maintain a good diet, a good sleep regime. And then there's the organizational skills. At school, we're taught many to help us clarify what the task is and approach it. There's one that I particularly like. I find it particularly effective for me, and it's something I used to teach when I was in Malaysia. I used to teach to kindergartners right through to middle school, and that was the idea approach. So if my mind is in a big tangle, and I'm thinking it could be this, it could be that. What if it's this? What if it's that? Then I need to focus the mind and bring the mind to consider one particular route forward and feel happy with that decision. So the idea method, identify the problem or the issue. Now with confusion, it might be that I don't understand what this person's asked me to do, or I don't think I've got the capacity to do it. Could be that. It could be, I don't think I can cope with this because I'm going into a stress response. But I need to identify what the issue is I need to deal with. And then I can talk to myself, describe the options. So that's the D. I identify the issue or the problem, describe the options. So what can I do? So maybe I go and ask someone, maybe I do this, maybe I do that. I list them all down. And then E is evaluate them. And perhaps you can see as we're going through these different steps, how the mind, it's like we're pulling the mind back, giving it something to think about, and it lets go of all the unnecessary thinking that confusion causes. So evaluate the options. Okay, but I could go and ask this person, but I could do this, I could do that. So which is better? This, or this? And maybe there isn't a better, but I need to, A, arrive at a decision. I've got to choose one of them and act on it. And in doing that, in choosing something and acting on it, I feel good because it's my choice and I'm the master of the situation in a sense, rather than a victim of the situation and the confusion it's caused. So the idea method. And there are many, many methods online. And part of feeling better about being confused is finding and researching little first aid actions, thoughts or affirmations that can help me when my mind's in crisis. And I feel good about helping myself. I feel good about helping others, but let me feel good about helping myself. Because the ripple effect says if I am clear and focused and able to perform, then others are going to benefit from that too. So my organizational skills can be improved. Journaling. Sometimes if someone is unclear, I can write myself a question or just start writing. I don't feel happy about this. I'm not clear about this because of this, and just writing. Sometimes something will come out of that. But I certainly feel calmer because I've taken an action that helps me to manage my emotions. So journaling, a to-do list, a checklist. Yeah, these are good if you use them. I went through a phase of writing to-do lists and then putting them to one side. I wasn't actually using them. So I have a mental one now. And I find that's better for me. It's less on it, but I don't set it aside because it travels with me. What else did I put on my list here that I find is really good? Oh yeah, prioritizing. Yeah. So if I've got a lot of things and I'm confused about where to start, again, looking, well, what really needs to be done today, right now? What can wait? So these are time management skills as well. But there's lots online for that. The other things that can help are strategies to seek clarity and gain perspective. Now, this is where meditation comes in. But I'll talk about that a little bit separately in a few minutes. So stepping back, seeing a bigger picture. So zooming out, like Google Maps, you zoom out and see a bigger picture. And so the moment of confusion isn't as big when I see that bigger picture. And also it can be reassuring because I'm looking at, well, what led up to this? Where am I now in this moment? And where am I going? So breaking down the problems into manageable parts. This is another skill I didn't actually mention in the organizational section, but break it down. Imagine I've got to plan a trip for a group of people and I haven't done it before. Okay, I can just look at what needs to be done. And rather than feeling I've got to do everything right now, making it manageable, if that makes sense. So seeing the small bits that are like jigsaw puzzle pieces, when you fit them all together, you get a big picture, clarity. So then the mindfulness and the meditation, and for me, this is the most important because this is internal and I'm looking to manage my mind, focus my mind, and boost my problem-solving skills because I am able to create an inner clarity. So let's just go through those things I just noted down. These are the benefits really of mindfulness and meditation. The Raja Yoga meditation that we practice at and teach at Inner Space, Raja Yoga meditation is a meditation for the mind. It's a connection with inner truth, which we understand we all have. So it's like connecting to very stable, very calming energy inside. And it allows me to, in a sense, rise above the thinking mind and see a bigger picture. So anyone who's done meditation would probably recognize that there are meditations, there's meditation music to calm the mind, to reduce the number of thoughts or the clutter of thoughts. And this mental clarity is helpful for sorting out, identifying and sorting out confusing thoughts and feelings and troublesome emotions that come as a result of confusion. Meditation does reduce stress, and there is science behind this. So if I am feeling stressed, under pressure because I'm confused, then just a few seconds really of inner calm and self-talk, quiet reflection, and soothe the mind and reduce the stress. Perhaps you'll recognize that when you're relaxed, you can approach confusing situations more happily, with less self-doubt or lack of confidence. So to have that stress reduced is very valuable. And this sort of links back to the need to manage the lifestyle and incorporate things in my lifestyle that allow me to reduce the stress. for me, the most useful thing with meditation is to look at the new awareness it brings. So, two different sorts of awareness. One is self-awareness, the who am I? Who is this person who is so confused? What's going on there? And in Raj Yoga, we identify the role of the mind and how my thought patterns and my emotional responses all work together. And when I have a sense of clarity, then I'm able to pinpoint the sources of confusion, identify what's the issue. So if I'm using my idea method, identify the issue, and then move into describing the options, evaluating them, and arriving at the best way forward. So self-awareness and present moment awareness, certainly in mindfulness, be in the now, but also in Raj Yoga, the importance of being in the moment. Because if I'm not focused in the moment, there'll be a pull from the past or the future. And that will muddy the waters, if you like, and my clarity will be impacted. So in the moment, I am able to make a choice, a decision, and act. If I allow energies and doubts and thoughts from the past to interfere, then I might discourage myself, or I might doubt the decision I've made. If I've decided, okay, I need to change my job, and if I let my thoughts go into the past in the wrong way, all sorts of scenes can emerge where, sure, you can trust your judgment. Well, it's a big thing to give up your job, and I might talk myself out of it. Or if my thoughts go into the future, anxiety, I can change my job, but what if I don't get another job? I talk myself out of something that actually deep down I know is the way forward. And my clarity is lost then. And I become confused again. And I lose the power of the moment to act and feel happy and confident in that action. So, yeah, I mentioned we can get perspective through meditation. One of the practices is to separate myself from the action. So putting a little detachment, a little distance, a little buffer. So actor and script, that does that job for us as well. So I'm the actor, I'm following my script, I'm not the script. Okay, if in the script there's confusion, that's okay. As an actor, I'm not confused. Okay, how do we handle this? So if I have that little bit of detachment, then I preserve or protect my clarity. Meditation has been proven to enhance focus and boost our problem-solving skills. But what Raj Yoga meditation does, which I think is key, is to boost our inner strength. That inner strength to hold still when the mind is in a tangle. It's to hold still and let the storm of thoughts pass and look for clarity and step ahead into clarity. So the idea that within me is everything I need to manage confusion. Maybe I need to be patient with myself, give myself a little bit more time to understand. Maybe I need to accept my limitations. And instead of feeling bad because I can't do something, Just laugh. It's okay. It's like, this is me. This is my limitation. And be happy about it. Be at peace with it, rather than create an inattention that will cause more confusion because I'm not relaxed. So other powers, strengths that help are tolerance. Tolerance. It's okay. This is tolerating situations where I need more clarity or others do. Because sometimes we find my limited ability to communicate clearly, we find it triggers anger or intolerance. The anger is really at me because I am not able to communicate clearly, or I don't have enough. I don't have enough patience to give another person time to understand. But that anger or that irritation is not at all helpful. So tolerance is good. And then the other thing that meditation gives us is courage. And I need courage if I'm going to change my pattern of responding. And sometimes when we meditate, or even if we don't meditate, we just step back and look at the bigger picture, gain that perspective, then we see actually the issue is with me. It's one thing noticing that there's an issue with me. It's another thing accepting that I need to change. And then it's another thing finding the courage to change, because change is uncomfortable. Yeah. So that courage is very, very important. So the suggestion is that when there's courage, I can gain clarity. I look at what is needed within me. And then I can gain clarity about what I need to do in order to manage situations that I find confusing. So many good things that can come from mindfulness, being focused and in the now, and meditation. So putting all these things together, I think we can go from confusion to clarity. We can use problem solving and also do inner work. I can use tools to help me manage my emotional responses. I can use checklists and guidelines to keep me on task and focus. So really a buffet of ideas, and I need to choose for myself what would work for me today. Maybe something different a week from now, a month from now. But with a combination of managing my lifestyle choices, organizational skills, and my inner work, relaxation, the new awareness, the enhanced perspective, inner strength, I can move from confusion to clarity. So I think I've come to the end of that. And if there are questions, they'll come later. But our next step is a little meditation. So I'm hoping that I can use the extra couple of minutes for relaxation and focusing on those things that we've talked about. And perhaps to reflect on some of those things and feel the potential to bring my mind to a place of focus in the now so that I feel the power to make changes. So sit in a comfortable position. There's no one position, but something upright so the lungs aren't squashed is a good idea, because it's often good to start with breathing. If I feel overwhelmed and a little anxious or panicky or fearful because I'm confused, then just to breathe can help. So expanding the lungs fully and breathing out completely. Inviting the mind to watch the breath in the now and to let go of anything else just for this next few minutes. So when the mind is focused on one thought, cannot hold another. So I invite my mind to enjoy some deep breathing. And I notice that my thoughts will slow down. And it's lovely just to tune in to the rhythm of that. And relax. Let go of any stresses and strains in the body. A quick check. And then switch off the switch to the different parts of the body so that my mind can be free. So switch off the switch to the feet and the legs, trunk, the arms and shoulders and neck, and the head, and let the body be relaxed. Just like you're about to fall asleep. The body carry on doing what it does beautifully without me thinking about it, and turn my thoughts inwards into the now, in this moment. I can imagine I see myself sitting wherever I'm sitting now, on the screen of my mind, relaxed. And I invite a thought of peace and calm into my mind. A clear day with a clear blue sky, sunshine, clarity, a lovely feeling. And sitting where I'm sitting now, I allow my mind to rise up into that blue sky and feel the clarity. If any other thoughts come, let me see them like clouds. They're not wanted now, so I move them across the sky and clear my mind and feel strong and present and capable of making good decisions. Up here, I can look down. I can see myself in a situation that perhaps is troubling me because there's some confusion for one reason or another. A miscommunication or a sudden change, an unexpected change. And I look down and I see myself managing. I'm okay. I see the confusion for what it is. Just a result of a miscommunication or unclear communication. That's all. Or a surprising event. And I see how I can cope with that. I have my toolbox. I have my mind. And I give myself time to think my way through the situation, arriving at a decision I put all my energy into to make a positive difference. I bring my thoughts back to me sitting here in my chair, and there's a feeling of clarity and confidence inside. I have everything I need to be able to manage any situation of confusion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you for sharing all your tools or insights on this topic, but also the meditation. I can see how, as you led us through that meditation, you brought, at least me, that sense of contentment with and ease. And it suddenly opened up lots of things for me. So thank you very much. There are a few questions that have come in. One of them was, you mentioned courage, and okay, you get your clarity, but then you need courage to act. What if you've got the clarity, but you don't have the motivation? Does that mean you've got the wrong clarity? Is the question.
In my opinion, it doesn't mean you've got the wrong clarity. It just means I'm not ready to act on it. I'm not ready yet. And that's okay. Some things take time. I need to be ready. And it's not an automatic thing that when I have courage, there'll be clarity. When there's clarity, the courage will come. Because it's not as simple as it sounds. There are all sorts of things in our memory bank, in our story, that can block us from acting. Fear, because perhaps in the past something has happened in a similar situation, so I'm a little reticent or reluctant. So I would say no, there can be many other factors, and this is where meditation can help, and especially an enhanced meditation where perhaps you connect to your highest self, the divine, and take some guidance from the true you, or the truth or source. So I can see more clearly what's blocking me, what's stopping me. So perhaps journaling can help in that situation. I ask myself the question, why aren't I ready to do this? What if things were different? And just see what comes. But I think a lot of self-love and patience is needed, because these are big things and big steps. Hope that helps.
Thank you. The next question is a very interesting one. Sometimes it feels like evaluation and being logical takes away from the magic of life and how things manifest. If I get too in control of the situation, perhaps I'm putting a spoiler on life's plan for me. Is this creating the vision, creating clarity in what could appear as confusion?
Just because I work through a process or I'm very logical and I arrive at a decision doesn't mean it's going to happen. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the best thing either. It's just the decision I've arrived at. So one of the things I do when I arrive at a decision, because I'm a meditator and I have a working relationship, if you like, with the source, the supreme soul, I talk about the decisions I have arrived at and say, well, if this is the right thing, this is what I think. If it's the right thing, let it happen. And if not, let something better happen. And so I let go of it. And so in one sense, I'm being very logical and systematic because that satisfies a need within me for orderliness and organization, the left brain thinking. But the spontaneous adventurer in me wants to just see, well, what else could happen? So I, in a sense, surrender it to God, to universe, whatever, to a greater something, with the thought that let the best thing happen. And so we keep the joy and the spontaneity. But I have gone through the process of reaching a clarity that I need to have. Because I have to know what I want to let go of, to enjoy watching the best manifest in the future.
Very interesting. Thank you. So clarity isn't just about moving forward, it's also knowing what you can drop and be free from so that you can pivot immediately and do something so different to what you were originally thinking. That's really lovely. Thank you. Next question. The person is saying, I'm in a situation where I'm working part-time and my landlord would like to sell the flat at some point in the future. At the moment, it feels like a very fair rate, and logic says that it's going to be impossible to find another place at this price. And so I'm going to have to find a full-time job. Although I'm working part-time, I also do a lot of charity work and community work. However, my heart says, wait and see. The right thing will come up. How do I know which part of me I should be listening to?
Oh, that's a lovely, lovely question. I'm not sure it's a question I can answer, actually. I would just encourage you to give it time and give it thought and meditate on it. You know what you need to do. Asking someone else's opinion, I do that sometimes. I ask someone else's opinion, and that influences me. And rather, if someone says, oh, it'll be okay, do this, 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 then I do this, 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 but I'm not as attentive. I'm not as careful. I'm not as alert with my energy if I'm just following someone else's advice. If I am keeping that conversation with myself, with the divine, with the universe, then I'm in the moment at each moment, and I will perceive opportunities that I might otherwise miss. So if I was in your position and my heart says do this, I would follow my heart and stay open, watching for the why this was the right decision to do. I would do that for me because that's worked for me in the past. But I have a lot of experience of magic happening and not, I have experience of being very adventurous and courageous and it working for me with my personality and my story. I gave up a very good job. Within 2 days, I resigned. I gave up another very good job with the thought of going overseas to teach. I resigned. But that worked for me with my personality and my story. So I think you have to ask yourself in your own heart. If you feel it in your heart, it must be right. But it's not just a matter of feeling or deciding something. I then have to be alert to see how God, universe, offers opportunities to me. So keeping in that really positive, high vibrational energy that attracts wonders and magic. It's like the law of attraction. So having that complete confidence, presence, which we get when we're in the present moment, as much as possible. Otherwise, I may miss something. Not to be anxious or fearful of doing that, but just to give it my best. I'm not sure if that helped, but that's my sort of process, and I found it's worked for me with my personality.
I guess that's also where your courage comes into play. For there's a deep sense that you know what you need to do, and you're moving forward with that courage and alertness.
But
Thank you.
can I just add?
Yes.
You're on that sort of track. You're moving forward with alertness, but it doesn't feel like you're using any courage. It feels like the most natural thing in the world.
Oh, nice, nice. Okay, thank you. Thank you. That's it's almost like a something that you can say, yeah, this is my truth and it will work for me. So okay, very interesting. Very interesting. The last question I'm going to ask you, and the reason it's the last because we're now out of time, I'm afraid. So, but it will be the last question. How do I deal with a relationship breakup? My partner is having a lot of anxiety disorders, and had them in the past due to traumatic previous relationships, and it's still affecting my partner in the present. We do love each other, but I don't think she will cope.
That's a big one. For me, it's a question of what is my responsibility in this? And what is my partner's responsibility? Establishing a boundary and then supporting them, but not stepping over that boundary. There are different ways to support, and perhaps you're familiar with what works for your partner, but certainly with meditation, sending good wishes and pure feelings, if you haven't explored that, it's worth learning that method, because you don't need to be physically present with a person to support them. When you're supporting them from your meditation, through your meditation, and through perhaps little physical methods that are helpful too, messages or phone calls, gifts, whatever is the love language that that person responds to, so that they don't feel they've lost you. The love is still there, but the relationship is not. It's not easy. And I'm not a counselor or anything. These are just a few thoughts based on my past experience. Perhaps a counsellor would be able to advise the best way forward. But good luck, it's not an easy situation.
Ruth, thank you. You have been so caring, so insightful, but so present with us this evening. So thank you for making that time and joining us for the talk and sharing all your insights. It's really lovely. You've certainly got me thinking. So thank you.